All right, what's going on, y'all? Welcome to another episode of the Road to Results podcast, where we're all about uncovering the mindset journey. I'm Right, that's Ray, and I'm Right. Either way, you slice that pie, and we are back for another episode as we are again documenting our road to results that all started under the leadership of Dr. Eric Thomas, ET, the hip hop preacher in the UOU Mastermind, and we are continuing to grow. All right, so like we say, don't just go with us, y'all. Grow with
Grow with
us, and our
us.
goal is growing every day and sharing with each and every one of you the different things that we are going through, the ups, the downs, everything beyond what we do in business. And I love this. I love the podcast for the fact that Ray and I's brotherhood is only getting stronger and stronger as each episode, each day goes by. What's going on, Ray?
What up, man? Hey, yeah, it's always good to be here, bro. Like one just for many things. What up, sis? My sister Melissa Thomas, the
Hey,
procrastinate bully.
can you
Let's
bring your
go.
camera up just a little
Um,
bit? I should have said that earlier.
up, up.
Just because your
See,
head is
this is
getting
when
cut off. Your
this is
head, or
when
if you can
you know.
lower, your head is getting cut off. Just a tad. My fault.
Or
Thought I could
nah,
do it on my
we're just
end.
gonna. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. But
And so while Ray's
as
getting
I
all, I'll go for it, bro.
Nah, just saying, as I adjust this, we're always making them adjustments in life in real time as we go. But are we good? Are we good?
There
We
you
good?
go. There you go.
Good, good, good. All right.
Yep.
Do I need to move it at all?
No, just stay where you're at. I can do it
Okay.
from here.
Yeah, but yeah, I already forgot where I was going.
We talking about just man making adjustments, real life. Here we are on the
Oh
day to
yeah,
day.
yeah, yeah. It's I mean, even with us, man, like we had as we've gone over time as far as building this up and what it's turned into and picking up those, and we've talked about it before. You got to maintain a pace. Sometimes, bro, we were hitting 3 episodes in a week, recording, and then it's like, yo, we went 4 weeks without recording, and then it was like, okay, hey, let's jump on and try to get on every third, get back into a rhythm. But as you rocking that EXP Realty, we've got these don't just go with this growth. It's like we growing in certain spaces and places. I was supposed to be out there in Orlando with my sister Eva. Shout out, let's grow. Um, and new brother David. But hey, did adjustments, things that happen, you got to come up. But there's always a shift that needs to be made and maintained. But we're still staying true to what we said we would do and
Yes, sir.
record this road to results with me and you. I'm not a rapper, the Rye is. Uh, but yeah, man, it's good to know that we can be like, hey, like, are you free tomorrow? We got to get this. Are we free tomorrow? And this is still all an effort to make sure that we honestly share the good, the bad, the ugly, the slow moments, the fast moments, the idling moments where you and I are growing, because we understand that we're not the only ones that are trying and intentionally trying to to do better, to improve, not just for us but for the kingdom, for our families, and for everybody else that's around. So it's just, I don't want people to miss these moments when you see, okay, they used to be on every Tuesday, and then it was like, okay, they're on like every other Tuesday, and then like, hey, they jumped to Mondays, and then they're on Wednesdays. Those are just adjustments that we're making, but we're still doing what we said we were going to do. Just as life adjusts, so do we.
Yeah,
So I don't
yeah,
know. Yeah.
yeah. No, definitely, and
What
that's
up,
something that
Janine?
we're making. Yeah, shout out to Janine from the Netherlands. I don't know what's going on. Facebook Meta is doing some crazy stuff. If y'all haven't even heard, like we just like with EXP, we use Meta Workplace, and we just got the announcement that Meta shutting down. Bro, Meta shutting down. Meta Workplace. So if you use Meta Chat, Meta Workplace, anything Meta, just know within a year's time, they are going to be shutting it all down. So with EXP, our whole brokerage uses Meta Workplace, Workplace Chat, all the things. So by August 2025, it's going to be shut down. So they're doing some weird things. I know a lot of people use live streaming software and can't stream to certain platforms. So even last week we noticed it because we could not bring on any comments from Facebook. So just know that on YouTube, we can still bring those comments on. So shout out to Melissa T. All right, one of our faithful road dogs. Shout out to Eva Palacios, representing from Orlando, and Big Bro Ray. So if you're on the YouTube, you can definitely post your comments and those will pop up. But for some odd reason, still trying to figure out how to get them from Facebook on to the platform. So shout out to Cleon, but we can still see the chat, so we'll make sure y'all give y'all some love. Um, but yeah, bro, it's crazy. So yeah, Ray was like, "What you got on?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm in between appointments today. I ran some errands, and I just wanted to talk about like, yes, getting into real estate has been an amazing journey. When you get into it, you start realizing more and more um, how more intentional and deliberate you need to be, and how more focused you have to be. I think that a lot of people romanticize about real estate. Let's be honest, many of us, we see folks and we see their results. We see whether you're an investor, you're an agent, you're a developer, you're a builder. And I think what happens is a lot of times we see sometimes the more casual side of people, the side that's a little bit more relatable, right? Whether it's, dressing casual, talking casual, or whatever that might be. But bro, like there is so much more that happens in the background. I think we talked about it in another episode, the unseen, right? The unseen work that's being done from the research, learning the language. And so now for myself, what I've been doing, because my goal is to actually pick up more listings. I want to focus on being a listing agent. Being a buyer's agent is great because helping people through the process. But what we're doing in our organization right now, just to get reps in, is we're actually fine tuning our buyer presentations. We're fine tuning our listing presentations, meaning before we even work with a client, we want to sit with you. We want to, give a presentation or pitch, whatever you want to call it, just so that you're clear on what this relationship is going to look like. And Ray and I were talking right before that we went live, and how, even in his industry, right, learning language around insurance policies and just the verbiage, and just making sure that you're aware of what's happening. Because like, even for myself, yes, I may be a new real estate agent, but I'm not new in real estate. Now there are some folks who might ask me certain questions, and what I love about the EXP model and the team model is, even though I may not have all the answers, I know that my organization and that those who are on my team will help me out. So shout out to Annie and Craig Nash, who are our team leads, who have 7+ years of real estate experience in all different kinds of markets. So anytime there's a question or something that comes my way, or something that I hear, I know I can go to them and they're going to give me the right information. All this to say, everyone has a starting point. Like, I'm not discouraged at all. So just, I want everyone to know, like, my mindset is, yes, I am new to this real estate industry as a realtor. I'm not new to real estate, but my life experience, and I believe this is where Ray and I, are excited for the industries that we're in, is because we're coming at it with a different type of, not just, I guess, a perspective, but I think like our I don't even want to use the word, what, swag, like I don't, there's like the way we move into it. I think there's something different about maybe when we were in our 20s or even early 30s. You know what I'm saying? So it's like the way we approach it, the way we think things through, the way we want to deliver. I think for myself, I know, and Ray as well, we want to be more intentional. We want to be more deliberate with how we are serving our people, because these are big investments. These are big commitments. Whether it's a policy, or it's a home purchase, or investment property, or even you selling something that you pour your time, money, and energy into. So yeah, man.
Yeah.
What do you think, Ray? Like, how's it been for you? I know we were talking about just earlier, the different levels and language, different levels of language to the industries. If you could speak to that for a little bit.
Yeah, man. I mean, just like you were just saying, as far as like you're a new realtor, but you're not new to real estate. Even with your social and emotional learning work, and even biblical and theological theological like practices and studies, like you can be new in a space, but not new to that environment. But you have to be able to have certain levels of conversation with people and be clear whether you got to scale up your conversation or break down your conversation. I think sometimes we get so lost and caught up, and I need to be here that, bro, anytime like if you as a realtor are talking to somebody that's never bought in a home for the first time, that's never, shout out to Eva right there, bringing on the credit coach to help them with presentations, someone that's never gotten qualified for a home loan and doesn't understand what all the necessities and everything, like you got to break it down. You can't just be talking about, okay, this is what type of loan you're going to have. You're going to have 4 points on the loan origination fees, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to do an appraisal on inspection, when they have no idea what the starting point is. So if we can't do that, we don't continue to try to increase our level of conversation and language, the audience that you're able to communicate to is always going to be very, very slim. The social emotional learning stuff, like you can understand when you see someone that's just, they're just dealing with frustrations. They're not upset with you as a realtor. They're just upset because they didn't know about something earlier on in life. Same thing when we're talking about these policies. Like I was introduced to this business model over a year ago, and I was like, I didn't have the language, and I don't think now my mentor didn't have the language to connect with me at. So we were both speaking English, but we're completely passing each other. Like, because I wasn't understanding and wasn't hearing what he was saying, and I don't think he truly understood like what my needs were, but we were both growing in the space and place of what we were actually doing. And then a year later, we come at a common connection point where now we can communicate. And now I'm like, bet, let's do this. Now I need to be able to understand, okay, in this, moving real quickly to being a top performing agent for the month of April in this new business venture, it seemed like, okay, we talk about pace to scaling it back, because I was like, okay, there's some language that I'm not fully clear on. And the more and more and more we sit and talk with potential clients, I'm like, I want to make sure that I can communicate clearly the answers that they're asking for. And if I can do that before they ever bring up these objections or obstacles, then we can streamline this process a bit more. But I got to be able to make sure that they're comfortable and they have an understanding of what's doing. Because at the end of the day, bro, whether we're selling and presenting a life insurance policy for Infinite Banking Strategies, or presenting an investment property for our homeboy Zach Marquis out in Arizona and South Carolina, or you present
Shout
somebody
out.
as a new first-time home buyer, at the end of this transaction, the document, the business stuff, the asset is yours. And you got to be able to manage it and maintain it. Because if we don't educate them, we can't communicate with them clearly, and they close, guess what they have, because they feel like they got duped, stooped, whatever you want to call it, they start getting that buyer's remorse. Because we didn't make sure that we communicated clearly on a language that they needed to understand, so that they can, once they're done with it, there's a level of joy and peace that they're like, yeah, I just did something to set up my family. I just did something to put myself in a different position that most people don't even talk about. Versus if we don't, we're just rushing to the finish line, they're done and they have no idea what they just did. All they did is they saw some money leave their account, and they're not comfortable with that.
Yeah.
But it's language, bro. It's at the end of the day, and this is something I've been heavy on recently, is, what, as you look back on a season, it's with a road to results. As you look back on a season that didn't go the way that you wanted it to go, and most of the time when you have a plan, it's not going to go that exact way. But if it didn't go to a way that you didn't want it to go, to where you're like, yo, like I really need to figure this out, a season of correction, you have to look back. What did you not steward well? Did you not steward your finances, your time, or your
Uh-oh.
finances as far as money, your time,
Uh-oh.
or your relationships? So
Uh-oh.
we can always point the finger at other people, but as you're going through roads to results and you're evaluating, you're assessing, we have to look at, what did I not steward well? And most of the time, bro, we focus on finances. We focus on money. But like for me, even recently, I'm like, yo, like maybe I didn't steward my relationships the best. Maybe I was too busy being busy, that the other two fell out, using my time being productive, that I lost sight of the other two. I wasn't managing my finances or my relationships. Like there's always something we can look back on to better serve those we're trying to serve. But if we don't look at that, when someone comes up with an objection or an obstacle, when we know they want better for themselves, but we can't identify that language because it's language we never corrected or educated ourselves in, then what are we even doing?
Mm, mm, Man, so many nuggets there, bro. So many things came up for me while you were sharing, and let's just start with the last thing you said: stewardship, right? Being good stewards. That's actually one of my top priorities this year in 2024, because what I've come to realize, what I realize time and time again, it's not an issue. It's not an issue of actually playing offense, right? And when I say playing offense, meaning we say it time and time again, right? What is money? It's the low hanging fruit, right? It's not an issue of knowing how to make money or get money or land a gig or whatnot. Like that to me is not the issue or the challenge. Now, some of us may still be in that phase where they're still trying to figure it out. But now it's like, okay, right? I remember playing this game a long time ago. Robert Kiyosaki's Get Out the Rat Race. And his whole thing was, doesn't matter what kind of occupation you have. It doesn't matter how much money you make. It's what you do with the money, how you invest your money, how you save your money. If you steward your money properly, right, you can get out of the quote unquote rat race. And so for myself, just like you said, the realization is like, okay, right, you know your gifts, you know your lane, you know your space, you know, whether it's EQ, evangelization, and real estate, it's not an either or, it's a both and, because they all work together. And I'm finding that rhythm on how it works together. But now it's like, okay, how can you be a better steward with the blessings for your, and so that's where, and like you said, whether it's the relationships, because maybe we have to steward relationships even better with people who can show us more or be, who are mentors to us, or maybe it's a matter of like being right at that plus or minus. Maybe it's a minusing some of those relationships. But I think that's something that has, been big for us, Danielle and I, like as we are growing in this industry and we are, closing deals and we are building clientele and we're building relationships and helping others do the same, is being good stewards. Number one is what popped out for me. Um, and as you're talking about different language and being, the person to help people through a transaction. And I want to get your take on this, because we would hear all the time, data tells, stories sell, right? Data tells, stories sell. And so now that I think about it, I'm kind of, in the real estate industry anyways, I'm kind of feeling like, actually, I think data sells. And I say that because if we can provide the correct information, up to date information, if we can make our buyers or sellers more educated and they're making more informed decisions, to me, I would feel more comfortable knowing that I know the numbers, knowing that I know the market, knowing that I know exactly how much it's going to cost, what the potential, profit is, what the potential commissions are. I just feel like, to me, data actually sells in this industry. What's your take on
Okay.
that, bro?
Okay. So we'll do and I know you didn't mean that way, but it's again right at that point, man, when we start looking at any type of, let's just be honest, I mean everybody's being sold on something. You're like, I don't care what it is. Sometimes people don't look at being sold like they don't want you calling them or you're looking to put your house on the market. They don't want me calling them, be like, hey, let's get you and your family protected. And if you see a business model, jump in. They don't want to be sold because we're going to them and that's outside of their comfort zone. The fact is that everybody wants to be sold. That's why you go to Walmart any time of the day and that place is packed. They just know they're going to, and being sold is literally what's on the shelves you can buy. They know they're going to put themselves in an environment to be sold. So when we approach them from our position, you have both what you're talking about, data tells, stories sell. So we look at two different things when it comes to any type of salesmanship. So whoever's got a product, whoever's got a business, whatever it is that you're doing, let's understand that there is the art of sales and there is a science of sales. Science is all the data points. Science is the facts and the figures and the projected losses, projected gains, all those other things, the market, whatever thing is going to say. The art of sales is handling objections and obstacles and presenting and connecting with the individual that is going to be sold on whatever it is you're presenting. It's not a this or that, because I can have all the data, but if I can't present it to you in a way that is a story where there's facts and reasons why, what's in it for me statements, If you give me a bunch of data and it has nothing to do with what I'm looking for, it doesn't matter. But if you can present it to me in a way, in a language that I receive it, I still need the data, but I need you to package in a way that I'm going to receive it that's telling me it's going to solve my problem or whatever it is that I'm coming to. So we have to have this and that. Sometimes we can tell a bunch of stories and it didn't answer a single question. Sometimes we could present a bunch of data and I have no idea why this applies to me because I'm not speaking the language that you understand. So I got to be able to understand that there is two things. You got the art of and the science of in anything you do.
I like that. I like that
And
because we
and
think
as
about
long as we
art.
look,
Art is more creative, and it's the approach. It's artistic, and that's
yeah,
definitely subjective. And
yeah,
the science approach is
yeah,
objective, right?
yeah.
So I love.
And as long
Yeah,
as I
that's a good way to
combine the
look at it.
two, as long as I combine the two, you and I may not have the same appreciation for art, whether it's music, whether it's like actual fine art, whether it's the way that someone, whether dance, whatever something where we see that requires some sort of creativity, you and I may not appreciate the same way. We can appreciate the bottom line. Like people say always, we always focus on money. Okay, what's the bottom line? However, we both have that same end goal in mind, but our appreciation of art, if I put it on a certain song that you do not like, or the way that it's presented with the beats and everything else, and you don't like it, and we turn a song. I heard or I don't know how old it is, but I saw Drake do, I think I'm coming home or something like that, with like a kind of like a country cover, bro. But if you present it in the original R&B hip hop style to somebody that only listens to country, they're gonna be like, "Yo, that song's trash."
Yep.
Same lyrics, same artist, different music, different presentation under a country
Yeah.
tone, and then yo, that song is fire. Have you heard this song? But like, I tried to present that to you yesterday. You didn't like it. So we have to understand that when we're going through the science, or those that are facts driven, pilots and ATCs, facts driven, we want the bottom line up front. We want all the information, we want it now. But if you're presented it to me, you are an artist and you got to be able to be creative with the
Yep.
information, whatever your product and whatever your business is out there, you got to be able to be creative enough to present it in a fact that is attractive to somebody that wants, now I want the data. Now I get what you're trying to tell me. But if you
Yep.
present it to me in a loud, bro, I don't listen to like, I don't even know, like hard rock kind of stuff. Like I don't, so if you present something to me and that, I'm out. Like I'm just like, all right, dude, no,
Yep.
no, no, dude, I'm out. If you present that to me in mumble rap, I'm out. Like, bro, throw that to me in some '90s
Said
R&B
mumble rap.
backdrop, and I'm good, bro. So in
Mumble
anything in
rap.
business, in any kind of business, regardless of what you do, you
Yeah.
got to understand that yes, there is the science. Yes, we all need the data. But if you're not creative enough because you haven't had enough reps in it to
Yep.
deliver it,
Very.
to recognize that I'm not here and I'm not understanding, you got to be creative enough to adjust your presentation and your artistic value and maturity to
Yep.
give me the data the same in a different tone or a different beat, different backdrop,
Yep.
different landscape. Then we got to go back and we got to continue to study the language because I got to know how to flow in and out of this and see where I'm losing you and where I'm gaining you
Yep.
so that I'm still meeting your interest.
Hey, that's where the power of the assessment comes in. Because when you have gotten your reps in and you are around people so much, again, we have all the pieces in us, but when you know who's in the room, their dominant styles, and being able to speak to that is definitely crucial. So yeah, so now I love that, man. The art and the science of sales, or even just conveying a message, or anything. And it kind of reminds me of, like, again, this is my 10th year, my 10th school year just wrapped up. I'm doing social emotional learning, and I remember when I first started, and even till now, but more when I first started, we would use these flip charts telling stories, right? Kinder through fifth grade, hand your knees, drum roll, please, until I turn the page, ready, and whoosh, right? Like we're doing the whole thing. And Danielle will be a test. And I think I even, and she'll attest to it. But there was like hours that I was putting in my living room with the flip chart, had everything all set up, and when we think about the work, social emotional learning, EQ, the concepts are the same: self awareness, self regulation, healthy communication, and restorative practice. But every year we brought different stories, different characters, and different ways to bring that tool to life, to make it land and to make it make sense for a young person. And of course, making everything age appropriate. But I would spend like hours just, and you can even ask Aja, just being there, pretending that the kids are whatever grade level was there. And I was just getting those reps in. And then when we actually got in front of kids, or when I got in front of kids, like it was a beautiful, beautiful thing. And so I feel like for me now in this space, like I downloaded a bunch of buyer presentations, listing presentations. I got slide decks now. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And I actually have my pull up screen from my WLG days when I was back in WLG doing home presentations. And so now I'm like getting back to like, okay, let's bring this back. But now it's a new industry, but it's still the same approach. It's still the same science,
Yeah.
right? It's still the same art, but it's just again different content, and that's how I've been approaching it lately. So that's what excites me, is that it's not anything new in terms of connecting, presenting, building relationship. It's just the terminology, obviously,
Yeah.
and the questions I get that we've been receiving are going to be a little bit new. But again, the information is the information, that doesn't change. So
Yeah. Yeah. And so let's package that again, like with the road to results, as far as the things that you do, like all the things, like you're the average of the five people you spend the most time with, or what you consistently do is who you consistently are, whatever it is that you want to do. So time, money, and relationships, or we'll go time, relationships, and money. So how are you spending your time? Like you said, like I will sit there and see you, and you're like, yo, but like you're presenting it in a way, you're working on your art, you're working on your craft. Doesn't mean you have to ignore the data. You need to have the data, but you got to be able to work on the presentation of it and the art of it, so that people that you become in business relationship, or that you have relationship that you want to bring into this, can see it in a way, and you can deliver in a way that it is attractive to them, that there's something in it for them. Regardless of, we want to say everybody's selfish. Yeah, you can, people be like, I'm so selfless. At the end of the day, you're selfless to the point because it makes you feel good because you're helping other people. It's still you. And I don't mean that in a negative way. But anybody that's being presented something needs to know what's in it for them. And if you go into that room, or you go into that presentation, you go into that Zoom meeting, you go into whatever conversations you're having, and you're thinking about what's in it for you, and you're not looking at what problem you can solve for them, yeah, it's not going to work. It's going to end. So you have to spend your time to get those reps in, to study, to get into these. Let me get these home showing, videos. Let me get these whatever it is that you're doing. Let me sit there and listen to a webinar, or an education on Index Universal Life Policy. What objections are there? Let me go listen to somebody else's presentation on it, how it's delivered. Because as you're listening, you're developing your craft. You're pulling things that you want to adopt, so that you can adapt your styles. But the data never changes. The facts are the facts, but you have to be able to deal with a certain amount of feeling and emotion that connects with the other person, so that they know it's for them. So that's why I understand scripts, but get the data points from the scripts and then be an artist with it. Don't stick to the script. Have the script and then be an artist with it. And those are, however that looks like. But you look at time. Okay, now what relationships are you in? What relations do you have where you can begin to deliver this with people that are going to help you modify, mature, and clear up whatever muddy waters may still be in it? Because we only hear it from the way that we want to hear it. I can say something and be like, yo, that's absolutely fire. But 90% of the other people that actually hear it, it falls flat on theirs. And you can say something, and you've had me do it, bro. I've said something and I just breeze past it. You're like, hold on, let's not breeze past that. And I was like, breeze past what? I didn't say anything. Because it's not about me, it's about other people. So if we breeze past things that don't seem important to us, how many opportunities are we missing in business or in relationship? And that only comes from you putting time in to understand. That way, when someone keys in on something that's important to them, you spent enough time with the data that you can now be an artist and deliver that to them in the way that's important to them, and that they're going to be able to receive it. So we do our time. Our relationships are the only thing that's going to allow us to help adapt into that space. And then that's going to create, we always say, people pay people to solve problems. What problems are you solving? How much have you developed in that within your time? And the byproduct of what you do is the finances. Money is a byproduct of what you do. But if I don't put the time and I don't have the relationships for people to let me know, hey, you need to improve, or maybe you need to stay here, you need to focus on this and develop that, then I'll never get what we're all, at the end of the day, what we're all pursuing in some way or form. We're just pursuing it from the wrong order of it. Then it just doesn't matter. So I got to have the time. I got to have the relationships. And the relationships is something that I've been still working on stewarding because I've been a pilot. I like to do things solo. So I really think that's one of this season of correction is, hey, let's start stewarding some relationships better.
Yeah.
It's not always finances. People are like, oh, you're just bad with your money. But yeah, maybe you're wasteful with your time. Maybe you're not developing your level of conversation. Your language is still that of a kindergartner. And some of the words you use are not right.
Yeah. Yep. And I'm just gonna say, like one of the things, the assumptions I used to always make, like if someone was applying for a job, if people were applying for jobs, to me, it was already kind of automatic. Like you had to have the skill sets, you have to have the credential, right? You have to have the education, the background, whatever it is, you're applying for. You got to have the skill set and the wherewithal, and you got to have the knowledge of it. But I actually want to go back to that because I feel like we're in a time now where things are being put together, built. People, whether it's people's businesses, people are doing coaching, people are joining different industries and running fast, right? We're living in this like real instant gratification era. I think
Right.
that just knowing the basics and knowing your product, knowing your numbers, knowing your industry is even being skimmed through, if that makes sense. Like we're knowing the basics, but like, are we really learning it and are we really knowing it? And I think that's something I want to, share with any of our listeners who are getting into a new career, a new industry, whatever it might be, right? Like it's one thing to see other people's results and romanticize that, and you may have genuinely have a passion for that. Like Danielle and I, we passionately have, this love for real estate ever since we started watching HGTV. When we first got together, 18 years ago. And until this day, I'm still going to say it, right? Speak what you seek until you see what you said. Like we are going to have some type of show. Like Danielle will have a show. Like we're figuring that out right now. Like we are putting together some things and it's getting closer and closer. Ride the Realtor, the best overall, aka buy and sell with Rael. It's a thing, y'all. It's a thing. And we're developing this brand together. And again, but we also understand like, okay, let's know our market, let's know our area, let's know the ins and outs of real estate. And then with our personal stories and or stories of previous clients, we can leverage that to help stick the point or land the learning, so to speak, so that those numbers do make sense, so that the data can actually be a way where we get those aha moments. And I think that's where I'm at right now in our business is okay. You are good with people. The flight attendant comes through and through. That's not a problem. Making the calls, getting the leads. I mean, we have a Facebook funnel, man. And Meta, see again, back to Meta. Meta actually runs that funnel, so we're gonna have to figure this out. But funnels, we got some leads coming through the funnel. I'm calling right away. That's not a problem. Danielle's a researcher on the back end, like so. It's a well-oiled machine in that sense. But then, of course, when questions are coming up specifically, that are more specific to a market or an area or whatever that might be, for the most part, we have a great idea. But I think that's where I'm learning. My gap is like, oh, okay, just do more homework. So Danielle and I literally have been driving the areas, the subdivisions, all the different parts of the areas that we are selling in or want to sell in, so that it just makes us that much more knowledgeable of the area. And then, like you said, so I think that's the science of the sale, because the art of the sale, for the most part, comes pretty natural.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, you said, what did you say? You said we romanticize this saying and what real estate, and we romanticize anything that we talked about a while ago too, like the before of something. I think we romanticize the idea of what's going to happen and what's going to come of it and what we can actually gain and if we're focused on others, who we can impact and help and all. We romanticize how that's going to go. Like we're literally on our feelings, the romantic piece of that. We're in our feelings, and there's nothing wrong with it. However, you got to be able to, and that's with anything. I mean, anything you do, we begin from the start of it. There's a level of encouragement. That's something that you wrote the vision, you wrote your plan out that you're going to do it. And when you start, there's just like a new relationship. There's a honeymoon period where you're getting into it, the idea and all these things we can do and how we're going to help. But then there's the reality of it, the data that comes into it. You're like, oh, I'm going to get in here. I'm going to start running and gunning. I'm going to get these properties listed on the market. Like, the data point here is that the average days on market is 120 days. But are you going to be diligent, persistent, and consistent enough to continue doing open houses, to continue putting this on any type of marketing platform that you use? Are you going to continue to show people this, even though the last 15 walked around, asked you some questions about it, made an offer that's well beneath asking? Are you still going to present that same property with that same energy to the next family that comes through? Because that period of the feelings and how romantic it was in the beginning when you first started, you're starting to realize how much work is needed to maintain and sustain this. And I think that instant gratification, that's the issue now, is that, and I put this in our notes on our notes app, I put pressure and peace. So like these two things that we should want both. Most of us just want the peace. We want the peace that surpasses all understanding, but we don't want to deal with the pressure that's necessary to develop into the person that's deserving of the peace we earn. I'm not talking about the peace that our Heavenly Father, but just the peace in life, like the moments to just be at peace in the day, to, if you're able to go somewhere and enjoy the beach and enjoy whatever it is that brings that external peace, the environmental peace to you, you have to be able to deal with the pressures of life well. And I think when we look for the instant gratification, the moment it starts, we romanticize the idea of it, but the moment pressure is applied because now you need to grow, we break. And then we break, and then we're in pursuit of something else. So we're never in a state of peace because we're always pursuing something because we can't handle the pressure.
Capacity.
And yeah, it's capacity. It's capacity. And all of us operate in certain ways, but how do we handle pressure? Do we have an expectation of pressure? When we're looking, you said y'all going to have a TV show. There's a pressure with just saying that statement. And then there's an added pressure when you say it publicly. But that's why you get around the right people, that when you say it publicly, we got some people that follow and listen that know people that do certain things on HGTV. I'm saying that literally because I know this.
We do. We do.
So when you say something, now you got people that bet. Let me connect you with. And then there's an expectation that's put on you. Okay, if you do want to do this, this is what's going to be needed.
Yep. Yep.
But there should be peace in the fact that what you said is a legitimate opportunity, but you have to respond well to the pressure.
That's it. That was just like,
and when you have that microwave instant gratification, I'm sorry, pressure is not received. Bro, you ever had like one of them frozen burritos, but you didn't vent it well? Like you didn't open it at all, and you throw that thing in the microwave, that thing just popped, and then you got some splatter on the side.
Nah, that's facts, man. That's fact. And I think that's, like, because I know that the fella said that on a podcast either last week or the week before, right, about pressure and why it's important to have that pressure, because we grow through it if we have the right mindset, if we have the right accountability, if we have the right environment around us. And I think that's something that, again, through our time in the mastermind and our time together, more and more, we see the fruits and the power and the benefit of having all those things in place and then just continuing to execute. And I heard Maxwell say this, recently, and he was like, do the hard things now so you can do the harder things later. right? Do the hard things now so you can do the harder things later. It's not do the hard things now so life gets easier later. It's actually the opposite. And it doesn't mean that life is hard later. And again, and that this is the distinction here. You're doing the hard things now to do harder things later. It's not saying do hard things now because life is going to get harder for you. No, not at all. It's actually the quite opposite. I believe the more you do the hard things and the harder things, I believe pressure actually relieves itself. I believe there's actually less like the pressure is there, but it's not the same kind of pressure because you're elevating up. So I think of like the pressure of a balloon skyrocketing you when you're able to do the hard things. And so his whole piece around it, which is, you know, what we're talking about is capacity. So how do you develop capacity in any shape? He was using it in a frame of emotional capacity, right? Because it's all emotions. We do hard things. It's not easy. We have feelings, but we do it now so we can do the harder things later. And we do the harder things later. Why? Because we have capacity. And that capacity allows us to elevate and the pressure releases. And we just have this nice balance of, okay, I put it out there, I said it, but I have the community, I have the tools, I have the gift, I have the environment, I have the 120. All right, I got the, you know, the go get it. I got the mindset. Let's go. And I think that's where the next level is. I think for especially for you and I and the industries and the spaces that we're able to be in and be a part of and pour into, it really is okay. Like we've learned, we grow. What do they say? It's wins, it's lessons. Lessons are blessings.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lessons are blessings. So yeah, so do the hard
Yeah.
thing now so you can do the harder things later. And then when you know you keep doing that, and by the time you look back, you're gonna look at how high you've come up the mountain.
Yeah. Yeah. And I there's really something in that. That's because sometimes we'll say, you know, do the hard things now so you can enjoy the peace of life, or you can enjoy, you know, choose your hard. You can do the hard things now so you can have a certain amount of peace later, or have your peace right now and you'll have a certain level of hard. Let me not use peace. Let me not use that. You can have fun now and it'll be harder later. Or you can do the hard things and it'll be fun later. But ideally, as you continue to grow, as you continue to respond to the pressure well, when you respond to the pressure well, you find your purpose in it. And every time you respond to the hard things, you're better prepared for the harder thing. So as you go through this road to results, understand that every level, and they say there are new levels, new devils, like, you know, there's some real challenges as you move to a different level. But because you did the hard thing in the beginning, you didn't run from it. You didn't run from that pressure or break under it. You're better prepared for the next thing. That's growth.
Yeah.
Grow in wisdom and in stature. And that continues because as you continue to move up, you start to see new opportunities. This is where we're talking about, like, every time you grow, like every time you move to, you go from clear to confused. You move to another level. Why? Because there's a whole nother set of problems and things that I want to contribute to, that I know I'm gifted to contribute to and solve, but I have to grow in order for that to happen. That doesn't happen if I don't do the first level of hard. Then when I get to the next one, I see it. But now I start to get clearer on what it is that I do. But when I get to those levels, I get confused because there's problems that I was not aware of. But now I got to go back and I got to invest the time and the reps so that my art to deliver this data that I have, I know the data is in me, that I have this gift and this talent and this ability, but I got to spend the time to develop it, to develop my artistic ability to deliver it to a wide audience that understands what it is that I have, that can solve a problem that everybody's perceived to receive it differently. But you can't do that until you deal with the hard that's in front of you. Sometimes we want to be in that, bro. I want to be in that 50 unit right now. Like, okay, well, you got the capacity and the ability to house hack a duplex, but I
Yeah.
want that 50 unit right now.
Yep.
That's great. That's
Yeah.
great.
Well, it's
But
kind of
we
like
gotta, yeah,
the
right.
episode.
We gotta handle.
Yeah, remember the episode we had talked about a while back where, you know, in the flight assessment. Well, yeah, you're a pilot, but what airport and what airplane are you piloting at?
Yeah.
Right? You may just be starting off. You be my small little private plane for right now. Maybe you can't handle the 747. right? Or anything in between. So when you know who you are and how you are, be realistic with what level you are at. So for example, I'll just use this, right, as a speaker. So I wanted to start off with some wins in the beginning of the show, but we just jumped right in. Um, I have right now probably, I want to say last count was about 12 bookings in 2025. All right, so in 2025, I have 12 speaking engagements set up so far. I thought 2024 was going to be a little slower, but it's actually picking up. So I'm picking up a couple more opportunities because your name, your boy's name is getting out. Um, the Reach Academy digital course for youth, for starting with youth ministry leaders, is being air traffic controlled out right now. It is going to go into a piloting process in the next 90 days is our goal. But I'm working with a team now that's actually helping me take all the content, the ideas, Reach Academy, Reach In, Reach Out, everything we had talked about, and we're gonna start piloting it, and then eventually by the end of this year, our goal is to make it an offer nationwide to the networks that we have that I'm partnering with. And so when I think about that and then how I'm speaking and the different events are all keynoting now for youth conferences. So I got off a call yesterday. I'll be in Atlanta June 25th next year for a youth track for one of the conferences out there. I got August coming up in Carthage, Missouri, about 60 to 70,000 in the Vietnamese community, right? And I'm doing the youth track, and there's going to be about 3,000 in that space, right? So all the different levels that I've been blessed to speak at now, I wouldn't have been ready when I first came out. When I first started speaking almost 10 years ago, I wouldn't. When I look back at it now, like, yeah, my heart wanted that. It wanted LA Youth Day, but it took 28 years for even just a breakout. And that's when, just to speak to what you're saying, to take time, just because that's where you are. Do you have the capacity to handle everything that comes with it? It's not just a 45-minute keynote. It's the preparation, it's the travel, it's the shaking hands, taking pictures, meeting people, the energy it takes before and after a presentation. And Danielle she likes it for me. She doesn't like it for herself. It's not her energy. It's not her energies, right? Right. So it's one of those things where, y'all, there's so much more that goes into whatever industry you're in, just like real estate. It's not just a sale of a house. It's not just a purchase of a house. There's so much that happens. And you said it best, Ray. You were like, yeah, offers accepted, contract accepted, but that don't mean nothing. You're like, it's just getting started. You're like, once you get that clear to close, then you can smile. But
Yeah,
until you get
yeah,
to clear to close, there is so much. And we've had that. We've had deals fall apart. We've had people pull out. We've had unexpected things come up, right? And so, yes, offer accepted, whatnot. But, if it doesn't go clear to close, and there's so many moving pieces that we don't see. So if you are in any industry and you don't have the emotional capacity, if you don't have the understanding that it is a process and that it is going to be day by day, little by little, and if you're not willing to wait, then it's not a priority. If you're not
yeah.
willing to wait for it, it's not a priority. And I'm going to share this last quote before we cut today. And, Jim Quick, I put this on my Instagram, and I did it live this morning because I was so inspired by it. And I think this is where results come because of priorities, and priorities come because our actions are in alignment with it. So here's a quote, Jim Quick. Instead of saying, I don't have time, try saying, it's not a priority, and see how that feels. For example, I don't have time to work out, aka my health is not a priority. I don't have time to go to church, aka my faith is not a priority. I don't have time to be with my family and my kids or my spouse, my loved ones, because I'm grinding. I'm here trying to get the bag for them. Maybe sounds like my family time, kids,
It's
spouse.
not a priority.
It's not a priority.
Yeah.
So Ray, I want you to
Yeah.
just break that thing down for it. I did a little breakdown earlier,
Those,
so
yeah, yeah. Those three, man. I'll stick with those three. It's like, the first thing with I don't have time to go to the gym. It's literally it's a perspective switch. We talked in the beginning about as far as language, but it's a perspective switch. Like, I don't have time to gym because some people think just that initial level. Again, if we talk about education, learning first things, we're only thinking that surface level deep. We're thinking about surface level. I don't have time to go to the gym. I'm not really trying to have a body like that. Women will say I don't want to be bulky. Dudes like, oh, dad bod season, whatever you want to say, and we can throw that surface level joking immaturity on it. But when you start to dig deep, when we start to understand that, as Jim Quick will say, as your body moves, your brain grooves, you have certain mental stimuli that happens as you're being productive. Like, where our bodies were created to move, and that helps with not just our physical health, but our mental health as well. When we start to dig that deep, this is one of the things that we go to, why am I drawing a blank? But just by saying, I don't want to go to the gym, you're saying I have no interest in doing what I can do to be here in 20 years for my family. Like, is it, do you not have time, or is it not a priority? I don't like to get up early. Well, is it a priority? If it is, then get your butt up a little bit early. Now we're talking about spirituality. It was like, okay, your relationship with God. Okay, I don't have time for church. Because typically people say that, I don't have time for church this week. I try to get there occasionally. Okay, seek ye first the kingdom of God and all these things. There's a priority and a process, and you have to have order in the way that you operate in life, because as you're building all of these things, as you're continuing to do the hard thing now and the harder thing next, you're going to get to a certain level of harder that no man and no person and no family and no support system can
uh
get
oh,
you through. You have to
uh
lead
oh.
on a level of faith, because I believe I'm going to get to this level. I got to lean on a level of faith. And if I don't have that, the moment I do something harder and it fails, because things will fail, those are lessons, they're not losses. The moment I get to these things that fail, I missed the lesson because I wasn't prepared for it.
Hmm.
And then we go into the family piece. This is something I would like to remind everybody as you're continuing to grow, when you're doing the fitness, when you're doing, that's an internal growth. That's an internal thing that you need to develop to become the right person to make whatever it is presentable, so that you can go forth and make disciples of all nations. You have to grow on the inside. That's not everything. Yes, your environment has an impact, but you have to choose to receive that information. You have to choose to digest it, develop it, and grow and mature within it, so that your language of what you're doing is understandable and receivable by many nations. But when we're grinding for our family and we don't have all this time, when you're saying, I'm doing this, I'm building this business, I'm doing all these hours, I'm staying up late, I want you to ask yourself, because we'll say, and I've said it before, we'll say we're doing all these things for you. I'm doing all these things for my family. Did they ask you to? Did they ask you, or do they just want you to be present? But if we're not aware enough to develop, to have the conversation, to be aware of our looking at other people to see, yes, I have the data that I know I need to grind and I need to put in the effort, I need to grow. But am I creative enough to see that the environment around me is not responding, and I'm not getting the feedback of what I'm intending? I'm not reaping what I think I'm sowing.
Mm.
I'm reaping resentment and distance because I'm grinding all the time, but I'm doing it for them. But now all of a sudden your kids, just, dad's not here, mom's never here. Oh no, my spouse isn't here, and distance grows because they never asked you to do that. You have a desire to produce and get results, but on the road to it, you lost all your passengers.
Bruh,
Every time you stopped to refuel, you left them at a gas
it,
station.
it, it reminds me, bro, of like I was watching this one video, and someone was speaking to this about kids, and they're doing this for their kids, and one of the daughter, I believe, was like, yo, why do you always travel, or why do you always go out for work? And he said, well, because I want to provide for us, so we have food on the table. And the daughter said, well, what if I eat less? Would that make you stay home more?
Yeah, yeah,
And I love that, because our kids and our babies aren't saying, I need you to go be out and about and this and that. And again, we're not saying be irresponsible. That's not what we're saying here. But we're reprioritizing it. And before anything, let me shout out our brother, Coach LDH, aka the Anomaly, is in the building. Is in the building. Nothing but love. I mean, and his growth
LD.
is amazing to witness. So shout out to LDH, y'all. Coach, I call him the Coach Anomaly. Um, but I really do believe that it really is one of those some things that we build up in our own mind, which is why we talk about why mindset is so important. In our mind, we might think this is what it is, but self-awareness tells you otherwise. The feedback in the room tells you otherwise. The peace or lack thereof inside tells you otherwise. So when we get out of our own way and we stop using this I don't have time, or we start reframing or repurposing, or again switch our perspective. Don't even say I don't have time no more. What like just try this for a day. Whenever a thought comes up, just say to yourself, that's not a priority. And two
Yep.
things, and I love what Jim Quick said. Two things will happen. One, you realize of how much a priority it really is. So we need to make adjustments and fix the schedule and make time. Or two, you realize it really isn't a priority and it shouldn't even be taking up space in your mind.
Yeah.
Right. So those are the two reasons, or the two benefits of using this kind of tool or this approach. Saying, you know what? No, I don't have time. Or you know what? It's not a priority. And then, because if it really isn't, then good. Then we shouldn't be thinking about it anyways. And I remember E would say time and time again, right in the very beginning of the mastermind, think results, 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 results. So anything that's not a priority, that's not going to lead to those results, is just a waste of brain space, is a waste of brain energy, and is just taking up time and resources that are unnecessary. So, and again, road to results.
Results.
And so this is our little nugget for the end of our time today is really, we hear it time and time again. And on the church thing, you know, especially Catholic Mass, bro, it's like an hour. Kids are like, hey, you go to Mass. I'm like, that's 1 hour out of 168 in a week. You can't give God one. You know, I always tell the story. If I were to give you, I tell people, if I gave you $168 a week and all I asked for was $1 back, $1 back, and I tell the kids tax free. And they're like, so you mean I get 167 times 4 weeks? Yeah, you keep all that. And all I want is $1 back per week.
That's
So
it.
$4 a month. Would you be willing, you know, would that be a good deal? Would you give me that $1? And they're like, yeah, absolutely. Okay, God just wants you for 1 hour a week at that. He wants your heart 24/7, but you physically present in his house for 1 hour a week. And they're just like, that's messed up, bro, right? Why you gotta do us like that? I was like, but it's all perspective, right? So, so again, family, we
It's language, bro. It's language.
It's language.
That's an art. That's an art to present some of these data points.
That's it. That's it. And I'm
So
even
I'm glad you said that.
I'm gonna go up one step ahead, right? If it's a priority, you'll find the time, and I'm gonna actually add on to that, or my adjustment would be, if it's a priority, you will make the time and find the time, but make the time. Yeah. So, anyways, y'all, go ahead, bro. And what's up?
You don't find the time and you don't make the time. You have the time. You can't make any more. You can't find any more. You have the time.
Uh-oh. See, next level, y'all. But anyways, y'all.
Shout out to Mama Thomas, Miss Rosalie.
Yes.
Didn't miss you. Saw your message.
That's
her number.
And again,
hey.
And this is why we show up. If we think about it, like, this is why we show up. It's not we don't have time to record the podcast, because that would be us saying that y'all, our road dogs, are not a priority, and that is far from the truth. So we will show up weekly, you know, schedule permitting, and we're getting to a place now where we're gonna start filming on Thursdays. Releases will still be Tuesdays. But Thursday, Fridays are kind of our sweet spots now, because, you know, full transparency, I get my haircut on Thursday mornings. And then when we record on Tuesday, I'm already shagging muffin. And Ray always coming in fresh and clean. So I was like, hold on, man, let me get a little fresh like my bruh. So anyways.
You can get that lineup. All right.
All right, y'all.
I gotta get going because it's a priority. I'm gonna have lunch with Vea. So yeah, go ahead, Ryan. Sign this off.
Come on, y'all. And like we always say, don't just go with us. Grow with us.
Grow with us.
Let's go. All right, family.
Let's go, Road Dogs. Y'all have a blessed weekend.
Peace.